Hi guys, and welcome to this new session on games and Unity 3D. So today we'll have a look at creating a navigation mesh with Unity. So it's using a built-in features found in Unity, and we'll have a look at how to set up our environment as well as how to create a non-player character that will follow our player around the maze. So let's get started. So first, we're going to create our environment. As you can see, I already have a few elements. There's a ground, a first-person controller here, and a directional light. So the first thing is that I do is to, suppose, pull my player above the ground, which is fine. Okay, so we can actually see it and you can navigate. And the next thing is I will create a few materials. The materials will be used to give color to the ground, to the walls, and also to the NPC, so that if we look from above, from a top view, we should be able to see those easily. So the first one is blue color. Okay, so again, we're going to use quite a brand new material as we've done before. That's done. And I will apply it to the ground by just dragging and dropping this material onto the ground. So that's the very first part. Once this is done, I can create a brand new material. So this blue material will be basically a duplicate of the previous one. We're going to change its name to green character, and again change its color. Okay, so at this stage we can change a green color or a red color, doesn't really matter. Okay, so just change the name. Okay, so at this stage we have a good few material. So what we'll create is a few boxes that will actually make up our maze. So again, create a cube. We make sure it's above the ground. And from that we will operate a succession of transformations. We're going to move the object and we're going to change its transform instead of scale, and in terms of rotation as well. So the first thing is to change its color, okay, using the material that we've created earlier on. And once this is done, we can actually change its shape. So again, I'm using the shortcuts Q, W, E, R, and T, okay, which are for moving, rotating, scaling, and the last one is a rect tool or rectangle tool. So once this is done, we can then duplicate this object. So again, if you click on it on the hierarchy or in the games in the scene view, you can do a Control D or Apple D on the Apple computer. And once this is done, you can duplicate it, rotate it, and or move it around. As you can see here, for instance, I'm operating a rotation of 90 degrees around the y-axis, and then just moving these objects around. So what I'm doing here is just duplicating using Control D or Apple D. Okay, so that's done. Duplicate again. So I'm going to end up with about 4 to 5 different boxes that will be used as obstacles between my player and the non-player character. Here I'm using the rect tool or rectangle tool using the T shortcut. And again, we should be pretty much okay now. So if I play the scene, I'm going to navigate very briefly using my first-person controller. So again, you can see those different boxes in red. And basically the idea is that I will create a non-player character on the other hand, and it should be able to go around these obstacles. So once this is done, there are a few things I need to do, okay? And one of them is to create a cylinder. So the cylinder will be used from a non-player controller. So again, I'm going to rename it NPC. And again, make sure it's above the ground using the move tool and place it on the other end of the actual maze. Okay, the last thing I need to do right now is to add a bit of color to my cylinder. So again, it should be done very easily. Okay, by looking for my color. Again, here I'm using a search for red, so I've got a few textures here, so I'm going to rename this one green and change its color. So again, if I click on it, okay, so I'm going to look for green since I've changed the name, click on it, and in the inspector window, again, change the main color for this material. Let me change it to green. So once this is done, I can drag and drop it on the cylinder. That's perfect. So at this stage I've got my cylinder for the NPC and I've got my first person controller, which is great. So the last thing that I need to do, well, one of the last things I need to do is to create what is called a NavMesh agent. Okay, this is what is usually employed to create an artificial intelligence. The idea of the NavMesh agent is that it will actually navigate from its original position to a set target. But to be able to do that, I will need to create a script that will effectively set the target for my agent. So again, in project, use create and JavaScript. This creates a new script. I will rename this script move to player. And once this is done, again, I will have to modify it slightly. So what I will do really in this script, it will be ready to, in the start function, so whenever the game is starting, to set the target for my NavMesh navigation, or for my non-player character if you prefer. So again, I'm going to create a goal, a variable called goal. The type is transform. Okay, so we'll be using that to store the position of the goal, the target. And then the only thing we need to do is just to initialize this variable in the start function. So again, the first thing we need to do is to refer to the NavMesh agent. Remember, this is the component that we have added to the non-player character. We've done that a few seconds ago. So again, we just want to get this component. So again, we use the syntax GameObject.getComponent. Okay, so again, since this script will be linked to the NPC object, we will get the component called NavMesh from this particular GameObject. Again, using the syntax GameObject.getComponent. So again here, for this NavMesh agent, I have a variable called destination. Okay, we're going to use the dot notation here. So agent.destination will set the destination for my agent. And in our particular case here, this destination should be the position of the goal itself. Okay, so at this stage I'm going to take this script, okay, and drag and drop it onto my non-player character, okay, so that it can be executed whenever the scene is started. You can see the script appearing now as part of a new component for my character, and you can also see that the goal here, which was a public variable, is now filled out with the first person controller. What we've done effectively is that we have set up a placeholder which is called the goal, and then we just set it with the actual first person controller. So at this stage I'm going to move my first controller slightly above the ground and play the scene. What we should see is that because my player is the actual goal, the NPC should go towards it. But again, there are a few errors I need to correct before this can be done. You can see it in the console window. I've got a bit of red information at the bottom of it. So again, I will go back to my script and change this information so that it can work a little bit better. So here there are a few very obvious mistakes. The first one is GameObject.find. So again, it should be a G uppercase. just to show you. So again, and once this is done, we need to specify what object will be seen as static object that needs to be avoided by the non-player character. So again, I select all these objects and select the option navigation static. Once this is done, I need to bake my scene, which means that it will make some calculations, and after that, the non-player character will know that this object should definitely be avoided. Okay, so we're baking our scene, we're compiling this information to make sure the navigation is done smoothly and that the obstacles are seen as such.